guys, Montel here, and thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel, where I got to tell you, I am so thrilled. Thrilled is an understatement of having the guest that I have with us today. Please welcome my guest. He's a former active duty Green Beret. He's a world traveler, a philanthropist, a community leader, and a former member of the Seattle Seahawks. He earned his bachelor's of science degree in physical culture and sports, and a master's of arts degree in advertising from the University of Texas. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Nate Boyer. Nate, thank you so much for being here today, sir.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
I do. Let me jump right from the very beginning and say thank you for your service, my friend.
Same to you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, sir. Look, why don't you back up and take us on a little journey? Because, when we were looking up your stuff on Wikipedia, it was a little bit confusing. Then take me on a journey of basically your life. I mean, you go in the military right after graduating from high school. What did you do?
Yeah, I didn't. But yes, it is confusing. The timeline is a bit confusing. I graduated high school, and I moved. I was from the Bay Area. Grew up there. Played pretty much every sport except football, and regretted not playing. So that's important for later in the story. But graduated, moved down to San Diego, and started working on a fishing boat down there in Point Loma, the sport fishing docks. Did that. Then in the off season, when they weren't fishing, when we didn't have the charter boats going out, I was doing the bike taxi, the pedicab down there. So I did that for about a year, and then I moved up to Los Angeles because I was actually interested in film and television. I didn't want to ask my parents to send me to film school because I didn't really, well, part of it was the money, but also it was like I wasn't sure if I was committed to it or anything like that. And I ended up just kind of drifting for a while, not really sure who I was or what I wanted. And then 9/11 happened. Didn't join the military right after that either, but it definitely got me thinking about it a lot more. And I ended up backpacking a bit overseas and went to the Darfur and did some relief work there at a refugee camp, a couple refugee camps along the Chadian and Sudanese border. And it was at that time that I felt inspired to join the military. It was from helping those people, seeing how appreciative they were that an American would leave what he had to go over there. But also I wanted to fight for people like that, fight for those that can't fight for themselves. And my last week over there, I ended up getting malaria. And I remember listening to the Marines that were going into the Second Battle of Fallujah, and these brave men and women that were over there risking everything for these people. And I just felt inspired to come back home and join the military. And when I came back, I found out about the Army Special Forces and the Green Berets and the motto, which is De Oppresso Liber, which means to free the oppressed. All those things inspired me, and that was the reason I signed up for the Army and went on that journey.
And let's talk a little bit about that journey, man, because I think you should be proud of what you were able to do. What tours did you serve? Where were you at?
I went to Iraq once, and I went to Afghanistan twice, 3 deployments. I also, I did missions over in Bulgaria and Greece, in Israel. I was stationed in Okinawa for a while. And it was a great experience. Like, just culturally, what you learn on a deployment and beyond, what you're fighting for and the mission that you have. I think what I took away from it, which helped me a lot moving forward with my life, was just a perspective and understanding and like listening to people that have different cultures, customs, opinions about things, and understanding that, my feelings, my emotions, they're all based on my experiences. I think people understand that, but we easily forget it, So like my beliefs, what I stand for, that's because of what I've seen and what I've persevered through, or whatever you want to call it. And so it helped me because, especially in the Middle East, there were so many things I just couldn't wrap my head around and couldn't understand. And at some level, it had to be like, look, I do understand what we have in common. For the most part, we all want what's best for our family, what's best for our country, what's best for ourselves. And we want to feel safe and secure and loved and all those things. So when you get down to the weeds and the nitty gritty on like religion and politics and all this stuff, like, yeah, we're going to have a lot of differences. But if you can get past that and just speak to people and listen to people as human beings, you get a lot of growth out of that. And that's what I carried forward more than anything I ever did it, in combat or whatever.
That's something that I think a lot more people in this country need to be thinking about right now today. and I think it will get us further forward than we are. But we'll come back to that in a minute. So now you got out of the service and decided to go to college, right?
Yep. So I got out. I came off of active duty in 2010. Went back to college, and after just a few months, I missed it. I missed the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the mission, the purpose, all those things in the military. So I re-enlisted into the Texas National Guard when I was before my sophomore year, and in doing so, I committed to I was going to go to college. You know, I walked onto the football team, fulfilled that dream of playing ball and making it. But also I had the opportunity now to still serve and to still, I was fortunate because I volunteered to do it. I wanted to do it, to be able to go back overseas in the summer between school. So I had a very different college experience. I mean, I was 10 years older than the other freshmen, first of all, you know, and I'm the old man in the locker room on the football team with the least amount of experience on the field, but I had different life experience, obviously. And so I treasured that. It was a very unique college experience, but I loved it.
NFL was not in your head at that point in time, right? At all.
I mean, it was in my wildest dreams, but not in like any reality. I mean, I wasn't even playing at first. My first year and a half, I didn't play at all until I picked up long snapping, you know, and I found for me a niche, a thankless job that not a lot of people wanted to do, that doesn't require the power and speed and athleticism. It required the precision and a consistency, which I was much better at, you know, and the endurance. Like I was able to block certain things out and focus because of a lot of the military training, but I'm never going to run a 4.40. I'm never going to be a great athlete. And I had to accept that, and that's fine, but I could still find a way to contribute and be a part of the team. And so I think if I would have played when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have gone for it because I would have known what I was up against. But also, if I didn't serve in the military, there's no way I would have tried out for the team, much less thought of like, you know, kind of innovated and found a position in long snapping that I could maybe compete at, and then had that work ethic to put in the repetitions and eventually earn the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the military ingrained in you that fact that, and being a Green Beret, there's nothing that you can't do. So if you put your mind to it, you work at it, you practice it, you train at it, you can be proficient at it, correct?
Absolutely correct. I mean, it's like, I mean, you get this mindset or belief, at least, even if it's not true, that not only is nothing impossible, but like you don't know how to quit. You forget how to quit. It's like taken away from that option. It's not an option. It's taken away from you. So like, unless it's something that's harmful, you know, like quitting smoking, like, yeah, you want to quit. That's a good thing to quit. But if it's something, a dream that you have, a goal that you have, you may never attain it, but you don't know how to quit. You know, you just keep going. And I had a few things go my way too, you know, opportunities, doors opened, and I ran through them. I didn't wait. But yeah, without the training, there's no way.
Look, the fact that you were drafted as a free agent by the Seattle Seahawks, I talked to them. First off, let's back up. Okay, you're playing college football, you received a lot. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back and talk about a couple of the awards that you got in your senior year, right?
Yeah, I will say this. On the field, you know, I never made a lot of tackles, you know, but at the same time, a kick never got blocked because of me. I never had a really, really bad snap, and I am proud of that. And, you know, and I always did what I could. If I got ran over, I got ran over with dignity and made sure that kick didn't get blocked, you know. And it was cool. And it was cool to see my teammates, the guys on my left and right on the line of scrimmage, you know, 300-pound dudes. They knew I was a little guy, and that and I was an old, frail man, you know. But they're gonna make damn sure there's no way I'm gonna let him down, you know. And so that was cool. I took pride in that. And then, you know, I got put on the All-American academic team, which, yeah, it sounds nerdy, but like you have to do decent on the field to get considered for that as well. And you know, so I was a first team academic All-American. I was a finalist for the Campbell Trophy, which is it's like the academic Heisman. And then I was on the All-State Good Works team, which was really, really cool, really special honor. And and Big 12 Sports Person of the Year. And then the National Football Foundation, they gave me their Legacy Award, which is like, I mean, they do it at the Hall of Fame honors in New York City. So it was awesome. I mean, all that stuff. Disney Spirit Award from ESPN, like really, really cool, you know. And Now I look like a joker because I'm bragging on myself, but it's your fault. You asked me to.
You don't look like a joker at all. I tell you, you should be extremely proud of all the accolades that you were able to receive. But now, okay, you're getting these awards. Was the NFL calling you, or were you calling them? Did you hire an agent? What happened?
Yeah, they definitely were. They definitely were banging down my door. But you know what? I got invited to play in the senior All-Star game down in Charleston, and it was the Medal of Honor Bowl. So that game doesn't even exist anymore. The sponsorships changed quite a bit. We've got the Reese's Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine Game that more people are aware of. But for a few years they had this Medal of Honor Bowl, and that was cool just in its own regard because they had all these Medal of Honor recipients that would go to the game, and they had like a special dinner for the players, and it was really cool. So I get to play in this game, and it's an all-star game, man. No one's trying to, break any records out there. No one's trying to, just absolutely destroy anybody. But in the practices that week leading up, they're very competitive, and they have NFL scouts come to these practices and GMs and coaches, and they watch the players and they evaluate. And I didn't know that. So, I'm down there and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, because some of the guys were, pretty high drafted dudes. And actually, one of the guys we played in the game with, he ran the fastest time at the 40 at the combine that year in the 40 and all kinds of stuff. So, I'm out there and I had 4 teams that met with me. Like they wanted to sit down and talk to me about, hey, are you considering, I was like, I just turned 34, right? And they're like, yeah, we know, but we also know there's other intangibles you can bring to the locker room, and you're good at long snapping. You're gonna have to put some weight on. You're gonna have to put on about 30 pounds, but you have some ability, and you should give it a shot if you're considering. So that was enough for me, just for them, even if it's just one of them that would have said that, I would have said, all right, screw it, I'm gonna go for it. So I did, and I came back to Los Angeles. Actually, I finished my master's degree doing an internship with Peter Berg, who he did like Friday Night Lights and Lone Survivor and a lot of football related, military related movies. And I want to learn about, finally circling back on learning about all that stuff. But at the same time, I was training at Jay Glazer's gym, Unbreakable Performance Center. And I was putting weight on. I was eating like crazy. I was waking up in the middle of the night, eating PBJ and drinking muscle milks and I cut out the cardio and I was just doing lifting and like speed and power drills. And I was able to put on a good amount of weight, probably too much in some people's eyes. But because of that, I got the opportunity with the Seahawks. The draft rolled around. I didn't get drafted, but as soon as it was over, I had the Seahawks and the Rams both called and asked if I wanted to sign as a free agent. And I went with Seattle because they'd been to back-to-back Super Bowls, and yeah, it was maybe a greater challenge, but I knew I would regret it if I didn't go for it all. And it was the same mentality with going to Texas, because I had plenty of people, friends of mine in the special forces, even that they were like, hey man, it's Texas though. Like, why don't you go to, a school that's maybe not quite as, legendary at football? And I'm glad I did it though. I wouldn't go anywhere else. We weren't even like a championship team. And the same thing with the Seahawks. I only played in one game, but just to be on the field with Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman and Russell Wilson and so many legends was awesome. And as long as it lasted, it was the right move. I'm positive.
Even just having that uniform on and running out and running down that tunnel, right?
Yeah, that's a cool point. So in college, and it's a tradition that started, not a few years after 9/11, I think, but a lot of teams, they have a player run out of the tunnel with the American flag, leading the team out, right? And so I got to do it every game in college at Texas, because the way that it was set up there, it was like, okay, if you have a family member in the military, every other week or so, a different player would get an opportunity to do it. Since I was actually in the military, I got to do it every week. And so I was always running out of the tunnel with that flag, leading the team. And it was really cool for me because, for me, those symbols, as I'm sure we'll talk about later, they mean something very, very special to me, very personal. And I always thought about the men and women still fighting overseas, those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice, when I had in those moments before the game. And it kind of helped me settle into like, all right, this is a great opportunity, but this is just football, and there's things that are much more important to remember. And it helped relax me, and then being able to, just lead the team out with that flag, and the crowd goes crazy. And I don't know if they're cheering for the flag. It doesn't matter to me. That's what it feels like. And then the one game I played in Seattle, I got asked to do that. The equipment manager came up to me in the locker room and said, "Hey, do you want to lead the team out of the tunnel with the flag?" And I was like, "You're damn right I do. I would love that." And so I did, and it was awesome. I mean, like I said, I played in one game, and it was in CenturyLink Field, and I lead the team out of the tunnel with that flag, and then I'm on the sidelines before the game. And in college, we're still in the locker room when they sing the anthem. And obviously, everybody knows now that's not the case in the NFL. The players are on the field, and the teams are on the sideline. And so the anthem starts playing, and I I find the tallest flag in the building, and I face it. I put my hand on my heart, and as soon as the first words came out, the first line, I started crying. I just was like, it was a lot of things. I was very proud of getting that opportunity in that moment. I thought about like my younger self and the lack of confidence I had and just who I was and who I am now. And then I thought about, I carried my best friend who passed away in 2012. I carried his casket at his funeral, it's draped in an American flag. And I know how proud he would have been to see that moment and all those things. So like, and after it was over, Earl Thomas and Michael Bennett and Bobby Wagner and all those other players I mentioned earlier, they all came over and like hugged on me, and like it was really cool. So I played in the second half of that game, and I did great. Ended up getting cut later, but what always sticks out to me in memory of that game is that moment, and it was very special to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I look back. Well, you said you stood with your hand on your heart. I literally, since really 1974, when I entered the military, I always just stand at attention, no matter what my uniform is, whether I be in a suit, a tie, a t-shirt, gym shorts, doesn't matter. I just stand at attention. Hand, thumbs beside the seams of my pants, and I lock in and stand as proudly as I can. And I've done that for the last now 40 years, which is insane. Now, you met Colin Kaepernick because he's a quarterback of the Seahawks at the time, right?
No, he was 49ers.
49ers. You knew him though, right?
You know what? I didn't. The story with that is, so I grew up in the Bay Area, a huge 49er fan. So when I was a kid, it was Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott. They won 5 Super Bowls in my childhood. And so I was always a big fan. And then we sucked for years. We sucked for like 15 years after Steve Young until Colin Kaepernick. And when he came, he brought us back to the Super Bowl, almost won it, back to the NFC Championship the next year. I was a huge fan, and it was like, and I remember when he first got drafted thinking, watching him in preseason games and he was getting his opportunities. I was like, they should start this guy. There's something about him. Like he just plays the game different. He's electric. He's an incredible athlete. And I don't know. I was on board. He eventually got his opportunity and shined for 2 years. And so I was always like, a big Cap fan. Even in 2014, the former backup quarterback for the 49ers used to be, his name's Colt McCoy. He almost won the Heisman Trophy at Texas. He was a legend. And so he was on the team with Colin, and I would communicate with Colt, and he was like, oh yeah, Colin's like big supporter of the military, all these things. And so we had this fundraiser at Texas for this student organization that was making care packages for deployed troops. And Colin donated a football signed by him that said, "God bless our troops" on it, that we could auction off to raise money for it. Well, the highest bidder was my dad because he really wanted the football. So the football sits in my house, and it says Colin Kaepernick and Colt McCoy both signed it, and it says "God bless our troops" on it. So then, like you said, 2000 and so this is 1 year after I got cut, almost exactly. 2016, in the preseason, Colin starts sitting on the bench, right? And he's asked about why, and he says, "Look, I'm not going to stand for a flag that oppresses Black people and people of color. There's people dying in the streets. Law enforcement's not being held accountable for actions with police brutality. Social injustice, racial inequality. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm sitting during the anthem, because I don't feel inspired to stand." And everybody, of course, had an opinion on it, including me, and a reaction. I mean, I was hurt. Everyone's like, "Weren't you pissed off?" And I'm like, yeah, but I was more hurt because I was like, this is my guy. Like, I pull for this guy, and like, and my initial thoughts were like oppression. And go to Darfur go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan. That's not oppression. This isn't oppression. You know what I mean? That was all the things that ran through my head. Not really listening to him or, caring to empathize in the moment because of just how I felt. Like I was saying, that my experiences shaped my beliefs and my emotions to this whole thing. So I sat back on it for a couple of days, and I was getting reached out to from CNN and Fox News and MSNBC, and all of them. As everybody knows, it's like there's a bit of a slant or an assumption that if you go on one of those networks, you pledge allegiance to that ideal or whatever. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to do that because for me, I see myself as I call it the radical middle. I'm a pretty centrist guy. More than anything, I support constitutional rights. And that's the oath I took when I joined the military, to defend the Constitution, which obviously includes the First Amendment. So, and I don't always have to like or agree, but that's what I fought for. That's what we all fought for when we signed up. And so instead of going on one of those, one of the networks and maybe they pick somebody with a different viewpoint and we argue and nothing really comes of it.
It's set up for conflict. They want to make sure that you come on and you have to take the ugly stand and he takes the ugly stand, and then you battle it out in the middle of and walk away with nothing actually solved, just a battle. Let me hold your thought right there for a half a second because I do have to take a little break to pay some bills. Let me take this break and we'll be back right after this.